We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. Oh my God. You need a market update. I need a market update. I'm looking at this last night. I'm like, oh, this is nice. However, the good news is I'm going to sort it all out for you. We're going to talk about the Fed and talk about Japan and talk about how weird it was that only crypto reacted to this seemingly large event, right? Like a small increase in the dollar wrecked the whole market. I don't know. Seems a little weird to me. I don't know, like maybe some government entity wanted crypto to go down because I don't know. It didn't add up. It just didn't. So now we have to figure out what to do in crypto. I'll give you the quick executive summary and we'll go through the charts. I don't think you want to be in a position after the Fed where you get really hurt in case this goes down more. I mean, obviously, if it goes up, I think people have core positions, okay? But you don't want to get run over if it goes down. You don't. And if it goes back up, in my opinion, you're going to have plenty of time to get in before the halving. So if you have positions that have not worked out, okay, unless it's like, a major coin is going to come back like Solana, then just make some adjustments. But generally speaking, my new add-on for today is something that somebody recently said to me, which is, don't be a leaf, right? There's big trees, right? The big tree might move a little, but the tree is steady. Whereas every time the wind blows, the leaves are everywhere. And the leaves that fall off the tree, well, that's plant food. Don't be plant food. And try not to be all over the place like a leaf. You want to be as steady as a tree. Now, if you have to adjust your position to be steady, do it. Or who knows, maybe you want to add to your position. I don't know. I tend, when I'm talking like this, to err on the side of not getting people wrecked. Okay, let's welcome who's here. Kay, first on the stream, welcome. Ethan, Protohypes, Ale, Gillies, Del Capio, Gregory, Jakara, Jack, Railroaded, Malik, Kenneth, Zex, Lisa. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Okay, news, market update, let's go. Okay, now a brief word on social media. Not sure if you can see this. Japan move on crypto. 10,000 views on TikTok, which is a lot because I have 8,900 followers. So young people definitely work, because I think that's the audience here. Young people definitely trying to figure out what was going on yesterday. They weren't the only ones. On a much lighter note, the phygital world is here. Bitcoin sneakers. Buy an NFT, get sneakers. If you think this is the first thing that's going to be sold like this, think again. This is going to happen. If former presidents can sell sneakers for $400, so can these guys, right? Phygital. That means a physical good sold with like a digital NFT. Just in, Robinhood launches wallet for Android users. So just in case you think crypto is dead and retail is not going to be interested after the volatility, wrong, right? I was helping two guys yesterday open Coinbase accounts. People want in. The volatility isn't your friend in terms of your sanity, but it is your friend in the sense that it gives you opportunities. I mean, if you wound up getting Bitcoin at, I don't know, either, you could either get it at 65, or if there was a bigger problem and you got it at 53, that's Christmas, but that would look awful. It's preferable to have it above 65. We'll go through those charts later. Okay, Bitcoin is single day biggest loss. Oh my God. You know what, folks? I felt in a way, I fell for some of the oh my God yesterday. Like I looked at this and I'm like, every chart is broken. And when you start talking about extremes, like life is in the gray. So, it's up only, going to 100K, or, oh God, the whole market's a disaster and every chart's broken. Neither one is the case, but the media loves the hyperbole. Don't do hyperbole. Okay. Crypto market sheds 400 billion in value after Bitcoin all-time high as it looks to stage a rebound. All right. So a lot of people are assuming a rebound is coming. You do have to remember the Fed is today. Central banks are involved. I find it very strange that the Bank of Japan raised rates. The currency that was supposed to go up, the yen, went down, and the currency that was supposed to go up, crypto, went down. So it was really weird. Like the yen and crypto should have gone up yesterday, and instead yen and crypto went down, and the dollar went up. And I was like, very briefly, the Fed needs the dollar to be low and the bond market to be stable. Why? Because $70 trillion in government debt globally has to be what's called rolled over. So certain debt obligations are coming due. Bondholders have to get paid back. No one's got the money for that. So they just issue new bonds, borrow more money. And that cannot occur when you have massive currency and interest rate volatility and super high rates. So keeping our fingers crossed that the Fed keeps it dovish. And I'm even holding on to a brief little fantasy that they actually cut rates today. All right. The Japanese need a rate cut today. We'll go over that more. Bitcoin ETFs, hot start, driven by retail. Yeah, because people naturally are going to rotate from tech stocks to Bitcoin. I mean, it's from an equities point of view, it's logical. So for everybody who thinks that the equity market investors are going to go running because of a 10% decline, their mentality is, oh, it's a dip. Oh, let's buy the dip, because that's worked for 15 years in equities. Why some in crypto don't want an Ethereum ETF. Okay, so we're going back and forth on this. We're going to have it, not have it. They're going to approve it in May. I think all these guys with Bitcoin ETFs don't want the competition. And I personally like ETH as something big and liquid outside the ETF world. That's my personal preference. And who knows if that's the kind of thing that they're going to win approval on or not. Okay, I'm actually okay with it not getting approved, although I'm sure the market would prefer something else. Okay, waiting for this to come up. Ethereum Foundation under investigated by state authority. So you've got a little bit of Ethereum FUD at the lows. I actually think of anything, ironically, Ethereum actually looks pretty good versus Bitcoin. So it's kind of funny that it's getting FUD this morning. Okay, Dogecoin price analysis, a critical look at investment viability. Okay, somewhere in here, it's mentioned, right, that Dogecoin looks great, but you have to wait for a bottom. All right, now, when you wait for a bottom, it doesn't occur. It either happens when everything looks broken like yesterday, or, the bottom is much lower prices. I mean, my boomer legacy friends were talking about 47K, tweeting at me that, Bitcoin is totally overdone versus gold, blah, blah, blah. So bottoms like tops, they kind of sneak up on you. So it's not like everybody rings a gong and genuflex and goes, okay, that's the bottom. Doesn't always work that way. Okay, Bitcoin tumbles from record high as grayscale outflows hit 12 billion. Okay, so this is the market. This is the press trying to retrofit an explanation to what happened yesterday. So grayscale has to sell, BlackRock has to buy. I think it's more likely that, central banks yesterday or somebody wanted this thing lower. There was this big strange panic seller in the morning, right? I don't know. That could have been a government, right? And then, crypto's hysterical on a day when everything else was like, meh. It should have been the opposite. Okay, Gucci owner, Gucci luxury goods in trouble. The consumer in trouble. All types of consumers in trouble. Even the Japanese yesterday, when they said, we need to change our interest rate policy because of inflation, they said, you know what? The consumer doesn't look that good. We're expecting people to get out there and do some shopping. I don't know why, right? Japanese shop when they buy crypto when it goes up. So the consumer stinks everywhere, right? Credit card debt has become a burden for Americans, right? I mean, it is terrible. Why do you think everyone is in the meme coin world trying to make money? I mean, that's not going away. Credit card debt's not going away. Meme coins are not going away. Now, what's also not going away probably is like really intense volatility, right? I mean, it's that time in the cycle around the halving, it's like it's supposed to go down 20, 30%. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to apply with the ETFs. This reinforces the classic idea, which you should write down in a book or tack up on a wall. The four most dangerous words in the English language are "this time is different." So washouts before halving, guess what? It happened. This thing went 2 or 3 days down more than I thought it was. So if you feel like you were wrong, well, the experts were wrong, right? Real estate agents face an overdue reckoning. Okay, this real estate problem is not going away. It's not. And the Fed knows it. And every day it kind of gets worse. So my conclusion from that is that they get the opportunity to pull the trigger on a rate cut, they're going to do it. Because the consumer is in trouble, commercial real estate is in trouble, and of course, more importantly to them, governments have to refinance their debt, and the lowest rate possible, the better. All of this should be good for crypto, to be honest with you. It should be good for crypto. So if it's not good for crypto, somebody is selling it or somebody's trying to keep it down. I don't want to be a conspiracy theory guy, but yesterday made no sense. None, right? All right, let's see who else is here. All right. Osario, Miss Lee, the GAN 83, Wolf CR, Seadoy, Shivan, Native, welcome. Sean is here. Kaizen Group is here. Welcome. Maximilian, Railroaded, a regular viewer. Welcome to the show. All right. Let's get into PowerPoint. I want to kind of refine what I said yesterday about Japan and then talk a little bit about the Fed. Okay, so hyperbole does get clicks on the internet, but 1 minute we're going to 100K, the next minute we're going to 0. I don't agree with either. You need to adjust your position so that there's another dip you can buy, or if there's a real breakout, you can buy. I don't subscribe to it's over. I subscribe to somebody washed everyone out yesterday, whether it was a company like BlackRock that needed to buy, or if it was a government that was embarrassed about what's happening with Bitcoin. Okay, let's review Japan because, this is not over. All right. The U.S. owes $34 trillion. The equivalent terms, the Japanese government, like if Japan was the U.S., their debt problem is so bad, they would owe $60 trillion. So they're 1/3 the size of us, and they have twice the debt problem. Japan's population is shrinking, which means they don't have taxpayers to help them out. Now, Japan has been printing so much money to help solve this problem that the yen has been down only and the dollar has been up only. Crypto largely ignored that until yesterday. Okay. Japan is an island and has to import large amounts of items, and inflation over there, they went from deflation to massive inflation overnight to the point where people over there are miserable. Japan has now raised rates and said they would stop trying to control their bond market. Stop printing means yen should go up. Well, that's not what happened yesterday. People were like, oh no, these guys are admitting that there's a major problem. They sold the yen and bought the dollar, making whatever problem was happening in crypto worse. Now, the fact that the Japanese may stop printing can help the yen rise and the dollar fall. That's what's supposed to happen. After the initial panic trade, the yen may rise and the dollar could start dropping massively because the Fed wants that. So fingers crossed for a Fed rate cut. And of course, this literally could be a massive dollar downtrend that I've been looking for. And this would obviously be very good for crypto and gold, which is why time in the market, like the amount of time that you're invested, is more important than timing the top or the bottom. I know we're in a trading group. I know you want to do that. I get it. Listen to the traders. Listen to what they want to do. But, one day you're going to wake up and the dollar is going to be a lot lower. It just may not be. It wasn't yesterday. It might be today. But this is going to be good for the dollar and gold eventually. Okay. Now, the watch list. USD JPY is what you have to watch. Okay. US JPY is in the process of scaring everybody. And as I've said, the Fed, if they cut rates or talked dovish, meaning they came out and said, well, inflation's a little high, but we still want to cut rates anyway, that would be good for crypto because it would mean the dollar can come off. Okay. Bitcoin should be a huge winner in this scenario. Fiat is toast, right? A Fed rate cut is key, or a Fed talking dovish. That comes out at 1 p.m. today, Central Time. Okay, dollar versus the yen. Dollar up, bad. Dollar down, good for crypto. Okay, this is a DeMark topping signal in the dollar from back in early Feb, and as you can see, the dollar went lower. Okay, we're on a 12 now, so tomorrow should be the top or close to the top in the dollar versus the yen. Fingers crossed, right? You may have more volatility in crypto, but we need a dollar top, right? We need dollar down, yen up. So if the Japanese hike rates and the Fed cuts rates or the Fed is dovish, that should achieve that process. If we do not get that kind of macro process, then we're subject to, I don't know, whoever wants to push crypto down or panic sell or whatever. Okay. We need that solid macro stuff because, yesterday felt like, I don't know, it kind of felt like manipulative BS to try to break the crypto market because, if it was really a big deal, stocks, bonds, and other assets would have moved. They did nothing. So this thing yesterday made the dollar go up, and that made it easier for them to lean on crypto. This chart shows that should end in a day. Okay, if you look at the dollar versus the yen on a 4-hour chart, it's on a 12, and the 13 is the sell signal for the dollar. Ethereum, meanwhile, which benefits greatly from a lower dollar, okay, there's a 13 bottom, a 9 bottom, and this is what I call the overshoot of the overshoot. In other words, they took it down farther than I expected, then they took it down again, then they took it down again, right? To make sure everyone was out, and here's a hammer candlestick, and then ETH comes back. And you do not want to see a failed rally, but that looks like a bottom, which is funny because, everybody has kind of given up on ETH, right? Meanwhile, if there was a dollar down move, ETH could literally smoke to the upside because statistically, ETH does very well when the dollar goes lower and metals go higher like gold. Okay, ETH on a monthly chart. So ETH is basically unchanged for the month. You might ask yourself, what's all the fuss about? Yeah, there's resistance at 3,900, but Bitcoin took out its equivalent resistance. You would expect ETH to as well, unless it's a debacle. At this stage of a trend, there should be a correction, so we're having it. We're having it. How big is it going to be? I don't know yet. That depends on the Fed. When central banks are involved, things can get very difficult for chart people. They can. Right now, I would like to think the Fed is going to be smart today because if they come out hawkish, that's going to really hurt Japan. So I'm kind of hoping the fact that ETH and frankly other alts that I'm looking at, if they held in or they're not crashing relative to like where they started the week or the month, that's not the stuff you have to worry about. Okay. ETH versus Bitcoin. There's a 13 bottom. Look at this. That's looking pretty good for ETH. How funny would that be? Right? Like you would say yesterday, he's like, okay, if the market bottoms, what's the first thing you're going to buy? Probably Solana or Bitcoin. I understand that. That makes sense. But it would be funny if it was ETH, because there's a lot of chart signals for ETH that it has a 9 bottom on the daily. And really, ETH has to outperform Bitcoin like 1 or 2 days in a row for there to be like a major bottom put in for ETH. So, you're cheering for the dollar to go lower and you're cheering for the reaction in crypto to be ETH to get going. Because I think this whole idea about an ETH ETF, I like ETH outside the equity market system. I like ETH to be something you have to get on Coinbase. I like it. And ETH is also money, which, by the way, is something we talked about yesterday and for the last couple of days. This thing with the yen and the dollar, okay, maybe you understand it, maybe you don't. We need different forms of money, period. I was talking to some guy yesterday who was from Russia and he's now over here. He's talking about what happened when they shut Swift down over there. And the only way he could buy anything is with MetaMask. Now, that's obviously an extreme example, but we need different forms of money. We need it. Okay, Bitcoin on a monthly chart basis. What's the problem, right? It broke 59K and it broke out, and then it's coming back and retesting it. It's just doing it all in one candle, right? It's when you have a technical analysis level, you break it, you retest it, and then it goes. Well, 59K, although that would be a little gruesome, right? You kind of had that yesterday. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just a retest of a resistance level that's now support. Again, what's the problem? You could have 3 or 4 more months. The question is, can you manage your portfolio and your sanity so you don't get washed totally out of the market? That's why I'm telling people, like, even though crypto is probably on sale here, even if you have to reduce your position on a rally, oh my God, I'm not sharing screen. Oh my God. Okay. So sorry about that. Okay, let's go back to dollar yen so that you see it. Here's the top in dollar yen. Okay, back in February. That's a 13. We're now on a 12. The dollar should top. The 12 signal, soon to be 13, is also on the 4-hour chart. Ethereum, right? Here's the 13, the 9, and a reversal on a 4. In English, it goes down, overshoot, overshoot. This green candle, this hammer, is bullish. Okay, Ethereum at 3,900. Again, it's resistance, but ETH is still unchanged for the month. Ethereum versus Bitcoin, signs of a bottom. A 13 on the weekly, a 9 on the daily. Ethereum has to outperform for like 1 or 2 days before you had a bottom in ETH. And if they can engineer a drop in the dollar, great for Ethereum. It's actually in the Fed's interest to get the dollar down, to get rates down. Okay, Bitcoin monthly, again, 59K. Sorry about the screen share. You break the resistance, you go up, you wick back down. It could be just a simple retest. This is why you don't want to get washed out. Okay, Bitcoin on a 90-minute chart. All right, I'm trying this again. It goes down, that's A. It goes up, that's B. It goes down, it's C. If you grok it or Google it, it's called a zigzag. That is normally the end of a correction. This DeMark moving average is at 65K. I think that's the level. I think if Bitcoin closes above 65K, the market is in business. Most likely, you need the Fed or a dollar down move to get that. But above 65K, that's go time. Okay, Bitcoin again. This chart, I noted this 2 days ago. I didn't pound the table on it. This is still not really a good-looking chart. This could be 1 or 2 more days of downside, sub 60. Guys talk 53. I have 55. This is why you don't necessarily want to be cowboy bullish until probably after the Fed. Like the Fed will come out, algorithms will trade whatever happens, and then the real trade will start the next day. Okay. Time in the market is more important than timing the market, because you want to make sure that you can hold on in the event that this thing turns around and just goes straight up. Be the oak, not the leaf. Now, Solana is not ripping higher this morning, but I'm kind of okay with that because you got a 9 bottom, you got DeMarc support at 162. I'm okay with stability in Solana. I'm okay with that. Nobody's going back to the Solana casino for like 2 or 3 days. That's okay. You have a DeMarc 9 bottom on this dotted line support in Avalanche. These dotted lines are automatically drawn by this quantitative system. So up here, you had a 9 top near some resistance lines. Now you have a 9 top here. The only catch with this is you don't want to have a failed rally. If this failed badly here, that would be pretty scary. But for the moment, okay, for the moment, it's okay. Okay, XRP. Well, I guess the good news about XRP is I liked it, and I liked it at 57.50, and that's exactly where it went to. So the good news about liking something that never went up is that it really didn't go down much with the rest of the market. Jupiter is on support, and that's the market update. Now let's check to see where things are now. Told the market is getting hit because of SEC news. So let me actually share my screen this time. Okay, so Solana is down now. Okay, this is a 4-hour chart. Let me just do some live TA here. So with Solana, I'm looking at these 38%. I'm doing this across the board, by the way. I have a couple of alt watch lists. Okay, 38% retracement is at 168. Now, let's talk about your head. Okay, let's talk about your head. There's SEC news involved, so the SEC can, they can go. You can tell they're piling on trying to stop crypto if they're coming out with SEC news the day after, a central bank rate hike. Now, one of the reasons why I'm telling people to adjust their head is 168 should hold. But what kind of state of mind would you be in theory, if Solana went from 168 to 142 and then did an overshot to 129? Like, how would you feel? Like, true or false? Would you want to puke out your whole position and freak out? What I don't want is I don't want freaking out. I don't. I'd rather have people puke stuff out that they don't want to do, adjust their book so that they can hang on. Because, this is either an organic profit-taking washout or it's an engineered attempt to push crypto down, which if that's the case, that's not going to work. Like, they can push it down, and as soon as they're out of bullets, it turns around and rampages to the upside. I do not want the people who listen to this show to be puking Solana at 142 where they should be buying it, right? I absolutely do not want that, okay? Ale says, one way to manage my sanity is to watch this show every day. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm sure people who run this group would want to hear that. So, that's good. So sorry about the screen share problem. One person says, I know it's too late to rotate, but I believe in its long-term, and DCA as much sounds feasible with my fund spread across opportunities. Yes. And speaking of that, here's like a final word. Sectors are going to matter, right? Like what sectors, like, layer ones. You want to make sure that you can grab layer ones. yesterday I actually made, you probably can't see it, but we made a watch list of coins that were still up on the week, and I called it Japan Crash Day. So a couple of them that are in there, like Aptos is in there correcting, right? Ray, JTO, Maker, right? ZCX, which was up yesterday and was up again today and is probably correcting. And I think it's a real world asset play. We were looking at Ondo, okay? Meaning, Ondo likes to do these things where it corrects and then comes back. All right. So, all right. So the second producer is calling time. Let me unshare so I can talk, because I know you haven't seen enough of my face this morning. Again, sorry about the charts. Look, adjust your position. Make sure you're sane. The last thing you want to do is be puking crypto when somebody like governments or central banks is trying to push it down. Remember, 100K Bitcoin is embarrassing for the administration. 100K Bitcoin is embarrassing for central banks, right? Especially if they've got, Larry Fink and BlackRock sort of collecting people for a rebellion against the system. Also, remember, big players have to buy $1 billion in Bitcoin per day. It's in their interest to force Grayscale to sell into a falling market. Grayscale has to sell, BlackRock has to buy. If they can engineer a puke in crypto and make Grayscale push it down even more, Larry at BlackRock is totally happy with that. And the people who have to get Bitcoin for Larry, they're even happier. That includes the people who have to get Bitcoin for Michael Saylor. That includes the people who have to get the Bitcoin for El Salvador. El Salvador is buying 1 Bitcoin every day. They're like, oh, they marked it down to 59. Okay. So the big players, the oak trees, they're happy about this. You have P&L. You need to make money. Of course, you're not happy about this. You're not Michael Saylor, and neither am I. That stuff's all on Twitter. And even influencers will say, Michael Saylor, that's nice, but the rest of us have P&L. Okay. Don't puke this out at the lows. Change your position now, even if you don't like it, because you can always add it back. That's the market update for today. I will see you tomorrow.